Bit late this week, but week in review of last week. It's already Friday this week, so I'm a fair bit behind. As usual, starting the Monday with a bit of Jiu Jitsu, no gi. I've actually got a bad shoulder at the minute, so I'm having to take it a little bit easier in those sessions just to make sure that I'm not totally written off for the rest of the week. And then didn't run on the Monday, just wasn't feeling it, to be honest with you. But got out on the Tuesday and just did a progressive 10k, which was actually a pretty good run. I started off really slow, 5 minute per kilometre pace. Just built as I went through. You can see there 49, 43, 38, 38, 31, 30. Dropped off on the 8th kilometre, bit uphill. But then dropped it back down, 25 and 14 to finish. So a good little 10k progressive run on the Tuesday, just to get that running volume in. And then I also did a short workout, well, say short, but it actually ended up being quite long. 3 minutes for 5 sets of 15 minutes. It was power clean, front squat, push press, front squat, push press. Did it with 2 dumbbells. So you do that 7 times through, and then you repeat every 3 minutes. It seems like quite a lot of work in 3 minutes, but it takes about 90 seconds. 7 of those complexes takes about 90 seconds. And then the second one was a bit of a sweaty one. It was a mover. It was 20 cal bike, sled push, 20 cal bike, rest a minute. To be honest, I didn't really go out with any pacing in mind with that. I just wanted to keep my heart rate up. Heart rate came out sort of mostly zone 2. The run, early in the run brought that down. Sorry, this isn't the run. Mostly zone 2, but pushed up a little bit towards the end into borderline zone 3 through those intervals. But it was quite a big training day on Tuesday, to be fair. Wednesday, did some CrossFit again. So, simple one. I went to the gym for this one. Standing bike erg. I actually used a air bike for that. So I stood up on the air bike and did some overhead carries. This was actually really tough. So it was basically one set is 3 3-minute blocks, or 5 if you include the rest for each one. So it was an overhead carry with kettlebells, it was front rack carry, and it was farmer's carry. And it was actually really tough. I thought it'd be quite easy. The first overhead carry, if you've not got that thoracic mobility or shoulder stability, horrendous. Not from a gassy, I can't feel my lungs point of view, but from a trying to keep your core stabilised, tension through your shoulders and arms, really bad. And the second set through, it was a bit easy, but still a challenge. The front rack and the farmer's carry, they were okay. They weren't too bad, so we could shift on them. Then the second bit was a air bike workout. So it's 30 cals, relatively easy, 1 minute really easy, 20 cals hard, 30 cals relatively easy, 1 minute easy, 15 cals harder, and then basically 30 cals easy, relatively easy, 1 minute really easy, 10 cals all out. So there's a couple of sets of that. It was quite a nice one, that. Try to keep, whenever you see RPE 5 in my head, that is basically a pace you could hold comfortably for 20 minutes. So if someone said, do a 20 minute to 30 minute workout where you're probably pushing the upper zone 2, that's where I see it, heart rate wise. And I use heart rate as a reference a lot, so perceived effort, it's that pace where you can hold 20 to 30 minutes where you're not in a bath of lactic acid at the end of it. I then did some weights when I got back, just because the little one wasn't up, the house was quiet, so some strict pull-ups, weighted, just chuck a dumbbell between my legs, used a 50-pound or 22.5 kilo dumbbell, and then did some banded stuff. I actually hooked a band over the door. It's a good little hack. If you've got a resistance band, hook it over the top of the door frame, and you can do that as a push down. And then just did some dumbbell rows as well. Moving into Thursday, bit of Jiu Jitsu again, gi this time, standard there. Sweaty one on Thursday though, it was really hot. It was actually, like I say, I don't track heart rate through that, but it was probably one of the hardest sessions we've done in a while. Probably quite a high heart rate through that. The rolling was quite intense. And then managed to get out on the Friday morning and do an easy 8k. To be honest, by this point my body was pretty beat, so I needed an easy run. So I just did really slow. You can see the pace in there is just under 5 minutes a kilometre. For me, that's really comfortable. Just over 8k just to complete the loop because I've got OCD. But you can see there, started out really slow, dropped it down to about 5 minutes. Was in the mid 450s. 6th kilometre was a bit quick, so slowed it right down again basically. And it was comfortable, it was what I needed. Had a podcast on, just trotted along. And again, when I think easy pacing, I always think you should be able to stop and have a conversation within 10-15 seconds of stopping. You shouldn't be needing like a minute, 2 minutes to recover, get your breath back, and then be talking through laboured breathing. You should be able to basically stop, walk for 10 seconds and easily have a conversation, and that's how I gauge the pacing for those type of runs. After that run, I basically did what you'd probably call it a functional bodybuilding. I hate that term, but that's essentially what it was. It was should have been rope climbs, but I did it at home. So I did chin-ups, underhand grip, and then I've just got some rings that hang off the push-up bar, the pull-up bar. So 5 chin-ups, 10 ring push-ups. Got through about 25-26 rounds on that, so it was actually quite a good bit of volume. Over 100 chin-ups and a couple of 100 ring push-ups. Actually really good. It says 21 minutes there. I had to pause it, clock a couple of times just to go and check on the little one. But it's just easy work, all zone 1. Tiny bit of zone 2, like I say, it wasn't pushing pace on that. Down as CrossFit because that's what comes up on my watch when I track. But nice, easy, bit of a pump after a run. Yeah. On the Saturday, it was actually a pretty good session on the Saturday. Did a bit of CrossFit, so it was I've written this down wrong. It was, the first one was a 20-minute AMRAP, so that was 8 dumbbell bench, 16 GHD, 24 cal ski. That was done at the gym. That was quite tough in the end. My pressing strength went on that really quickly. I was actually quite surprised. I don't know whether it was the ski going into the bench press. I'm not sure, but yeah, pressing just around about 8 rounds on that. I thought it'd be, no, sorry, it was 7 and a bit. I thought it'd be quite easy, but burnt out pretty quickly. And then that 3-3, 3-4 that you see, that should be above the bike and pegboard. So that was pretty simple. That was 3 minutes of work, 1 minute of rest, 21 calories on the bike, the pegboards, and then whatever time you've got left, you do max overhead squats. I'm actually going to sort that out now because that is killing my OCD. So this should be going above that. There we go. Yeah, so that's what you see there. That was quite good actually. You end up getting about, you have to push the pace on the bike. I made a mistake on the first round of trying to just go at a pace which was a challenge, but not like, but steady. But I only ended up getting sort of like 7 overhead squats, and I was like, that's not enough. Should be getting sort of above 40 for the total workout at 50. So it became pretty apparent that I had to go a bit quicker. So the calorie bike, you have to cane that quite a little bit. It's taken me around a minute on the first one, but then it just wasn't enough time. So with the pegboards, they take a bit longer. So I basically pushed the pace of the bike just to get that done in about 45 seconds, and then made myself just start on the pegboard. It's one of those movements where it's easy to stand there and rest at the bottom because it's a bit of effort to actually start it. But when you start it, you're like, oh, I could have gone sooner. But good workout. Pretty pretty high heart rate, to be fair, through some of that bit, but the rest brought the overall average down. Then on Sunday we were actually away after that, so on the Saturday we went up to Lake District, did a bit of walking and potting around, stayed overnight there, went for a meal on the Saturday, and met some friends as well. But when we got back late on the Sunday, I just did a simple run. It was 8-minute block of 60 seconds. Like I said, that RP is 6 before, so what you can hold for sort of 20 minutes. 60 seconds really easy, essentially a recovery pace, or warm-up pace, if you imagine what you're doing at your warm-up. And it was 4 sets of hard 200 metres effort with 20 seconds rest between them. And you basically repeat that with the same amount of time for the 200 efforts, but reduce the minute on minute recovery blocks by 2 minutes each time. So did that with 6 minutes, and repeated the 400 metres again, did that with 4 minutes, repeated the 4 200 metre blocks again, and then just did a 400 metre cool down. It was hot on that day, so it was about 27, 28 degrees. So my perceived effort on that was really high. You look at pacing's a bit skewed because of all the rest built in, but if you look at heart rate for that, my heart rate was really high on that. My heart rate was zone 3, it was 148 average, which is really pushing up a zone 2, and it went well into zone 3, nearly out into zone 4. It was just because of the heat. The heat was so hot. You can see there pretty much straight away, after a kilometre, I was pushing out of my zone 2. By the time I was into my second kilometre, I was, zone 3 and that. And it was actually a really, really tough run, that, even though it was only just over 7 kilometres because of the heat. And that wrapped it up for the week, A bit late getting to post this one this week, but that's pretty much everything that we covered in the week. It's a good week of training, some quite big days in there. To be honest, this week I've had a couple of lower days just because my body needs a bit of rest. So I'm still training, but not as intense, but we'll cover that in the next one. Got any questions, let me know below, and yeah, take care.